Hi there, welcome to another episode of Good News Mental Space. My name is Terry.
My name is Joy Eve.
And we are back again with another episode.
Yeah.
But before we can get to today's conversation, Joy,
Yeah.
just to always remind whoever is listening right now or you're
Yeah.
watching us right now, we want to appreciate you for just taking your time and listening to this. But we want you to go ahead, subscribe, comment, share, like, and above that, share it with your friends. And Pia, as you're doing so, you can always reach out for any help, any therapy sessions you want to inquire at a prices that are at an affordable price. Can you imagine? And you're getting it with a lot of grace. Just picture that. So if at all you have, your friends, someone who you think, maybe by the way this one can or would want to join, please reach out across all social media platforms and you'll be able to be assisted, however. But we want to say thank you so much even for joining us on our live Instagrams. Tunasema asante sana. We're always there with great conversations as well. So we don't just kaa tu hapa, but pia tunaingia kwingine. And very soon we'll be also on Facebook as well. So follow us kila mahali. Tutakuwa hapo. But on today's episode, Joy.
Yeah.
Oh my. Today we're talking about the grace, the path of grace. The grace path.
Yeah.
That shines brighter every single day.
Yeah.
Joy. I think in another world ungefaa kuitwa grace.
Hey.
Because the way you love talking about this.
Yeah.
And as we are talking today, it's a path. Please
Hey.
tell us about it.
Oh my goodness. I should have been called. What happened? Yeah. So basically, I think every life is basically a path, and where grace is involved, a path, a grace path, where grace, because we spoke about leaning on grace in a different episode.
Yes.
A life that you lean on grace just can only grow brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. Because at the end of the day, we also mentioned that grace is where God is working.
Yeah.
So a path where God is working can only grow brighter and brighter and brighter. It can never be overwhelmed, never go down. And the thing is, most of the times, even the bad things that happen in a space of grace, it all works out for good. It's like it becomes the best thing that ever happened
That's
to you,
true. Yeah.
So a path, a grace path, grows brighter every
and brighter.
day.
Yeah. In this path, Joy, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Ukitembea kwa barabara, there's always a lot. Utapatana mawe, utapatana na kabump kidogo, mahali barabara imeingia na kidogo vibaya. So let's talk about the bumpy ride that is always in this path, because as much as we will say there's grace, yes, and all these things, tutapatana na obstacles every now and then. I mean, if all of us were to reflect on this year only, the kind of things that have happened, some are good, some are tough, some have been challenging, but let's talk about the path will not always be easy and smooth.
Yeah, definitely. You will always, like every other human being, we are not going to live in Mars. I don't think anybody actually knows how Mars is. So basically you're on Earth, and definitely you will experience economic challenges. You'll hear negativity because you're surrounded by people who are actually struggling as well. Not everyone is positive. There are people who are definitely going through a lot of negativity, and you can be affected. Like, you can be discouraged. For example, you have a vision, you want to do something, you want to get into a particular career. There's so many things that will show you cannot, you will not. There's so many things telling you block, even in relationships, there's so many.
There's so much.
She likes it. But all these things become things that we actually experience on the road. And so how does it actually grow brighter? It grows brighter because the one who's working for you is greater than that obstacle. So if he will not work in you, through you, he will work for you in those situations. So as long as you have somebody greater than those obstacles working for you, and you're constantly having a peaceful mind, one of the things that happens, things just work out for you. There are people who've lost relatives. It doesn't mean that you're not in grace, but one of the things that happens, there's so much comfort in grace. There's so much peace in grace. So there's just a lot of things that comes as a package when God is on your side.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying, that it keeps growing better and better, because it's the one who supplies this grace is the one in control. So if you leave the obstacles to God, then it becomes better and better, because the obstacles will always be there. Oh my, don't be fooled by anybody. You know, the path is not that easy. But not even someone who maybe they have learned that positivity. And I remember, I think in the previous episodes you touched on having that positive mindset, having that positivity all around. The people who are that way, but they have never embraced grace. Yani kuna watu tu wako tu, hajai fully embrace grace. Anaishingi tu, anaenda job, ama anaenda penye business yake iko, and they're just okay. So how do they embrace grace in this path?
I mean, what can I say? Most of the times, I don't think there's anybody who can actually reach a place where it's all their strength. Because it reaches a place where there are things you will not be able to achieve. You'll always be ordinary.
True.
You know, even if you do great things, there's just always that empty thing that only God can really do. If it is not, it doesn't have to be financial. There are people who are okay financially.
Imagine
just because you're struggling, there are different struggles. But it's only God who can give you a whole life where you are all rounded, and He handles your emotions, He handles your mind, He gives you an identity, He gives you the right. You know, when you have an identity, you have a ground on where you're going to think right, you're going to feel right, and you're going to behave right. It's only God who can satisfy you in all ways, and a satisfied person, a satisfied woman, man is able to even be a good spouse, a good father. You're all rounded, and then it's like you don't live a limited life. Because yes, you're okay, but there are things that become out of your control. Because you can't control everything, because you're just human. But God, when God is working for you, you live an unlimited life. Like you are not limited anymore.
It's
God
true.
becomes, you know, like even God like promises that I'm going to even teach your kids.
Like it's not just
myself
you.
will teach your children. They will not know how, but somehow God will just teach them His ways.
True.
Whether you will send somebody or any, but you realize all of a sudden then He says, great will be your children's peace. When there is so much chaos, your kids will be full of peace. And how great is it when there is grace? When the things you cannot reach, God is already reaching. When there's bullying, God is there. You know, because you don't know if your child is being bullied. You don't know the things that they're struggling with. You don't know what they've watched. As much as you want to protect them, you don't have control. But then God will teach them. He will show them, this is not the way. I will show you the way. And that path where God is working even causes your children's path to grow brighter, brighter, and brighter. So it becomes like a family blessing. That's heaven on earth.
It's true. And touching on families, I mean, we're always here rooting for families. We're always saying families are going to work. Our families will work.
We'll work as
you
a
know.
grace.
Yes, because neema ya Mungu iko hapo. But let's talk about that. How do we even allow even the people around us to enjoy this grace as well that we have? Because sometimes unapata, yes, I have discovered about grace. I have embraced it in myself, in my business, in whatever it is, career, whatever it is you're doing. But now when it comes to my family, I want them to also enjoy the same. So how do I spread that in this path of grace?
So the thing about grace is that there'll always be results. Where grace is, where God is working, there'll always be results. So sometimes it's not all at once, but gradual. But something that's gradual is more permanent. So the thing is, your family, God will see to it that your family can see what's happening. Because at the end of it, God is also glorifying Himself.
It's true.
So what happens is when they see you prospering, your career life is getting better, you're peaceful. Like when you're speaking this life, it becomes like, you know, one of the things also in grace, like sharing doesn't become like a task. It becomes something so effortless. And like, even like it becomes like a conversation, you know. So like, honestly, to be frank, you can't help but just share, because it will be like a lifestyle that just carries you and people can feel it. You know, in your speech, in your life, they can
it just overflows.
It just overflows. So the more you're there, the more it starts touching every area of your life, the more people can see. See, like that's what God has said. Even like the people who God has helped, they're like Mount Zion. People will come from far to actually see the things men could not achieve. This person who's under grace, whose God is working for, will achieve. achieve. And they'll be like, how did you on earth do such a thing? I'll be like, I did not do all these things. God worked in me, through me, and for me. This is the kind of God, the grace God that actually people are looking for. People are struggling with mental health. They're looking for a God of grace. God who wants to work for them. God who wants to be on their side. God who's not condemning them. God has nothing. Who's not seeing them in themselves, but seeing them in Christ. This is the God that people want to see. And it's always attractive.
It's
always
true
attractive.
and very admirable. And imagine sometimes, even if you're saying, sometimes you don't realize how tiresome you know that was until you let it go and allow that grace to carry you through. Yani una realizing it later, mbona nilikuwa nangengana? Why was I even doing all that? You know. And even in our previous episodes, we really touched on leaning on the strength of God. And I pray that you have been embracing that even in your family. But you know, in the path of grace, Joy, we always told, extend grace to people. Hey, people can test you left, right, and center, especially the people you love most. I say family tests you a lot. You know, they really get on your last nerve. Yani, watu unapenda, they get on your last nerve. But even when it comes to adult friendships, which we really advocate for, and we say they're gonna work. By then they will work. God can really bring the right people in your life. How do we extend this grace to even in our friendships?
So what happens is, you extend grace by first receiving grace. You know, you can only give what you have. So what happens is, you get into situations. I think it's the same thing we did about leaning on grace. So what happens is, when you're leaning on grace, your mind is peaceful. You are able to actually understand why somebody reacts the way they do, and also be very gentle to yourself. So when this happens and you fought, you can be able like to lean on grace. And what happens when you're leaning there, when you're peaceful, you will know exactly what to do. And your response will not come from your own effort, your own wisdom. It will come from that peaceful place. Sometimes it could be just be quiet. You know, it doesn't mean that lazima wenda hapo pigane. You try to be nice. It removes you from self. And sometimes God just handles the person. Sometimes the wisdom could be just being silent and just taking care of how you feel about it, and just calm down, and and just when you are in that calm state, even if you're kind, it will not be from a place of forcing, because God has already taken care of your emotions that side, and reminds you how much He loves you. And then now you can love on the other person. If they want on, it's okay. If they don't want to be your friend, it's fine, because you've already been loved in the space of grace. So see, you're forcing love, trying to force, and then when they refuse to love you back, you feel like you're the most unloved person. God does not want you to live that kind of a life. It makes you to be a whole person, somebody with stature. It's just your complete content, and you're not moved or controlled by what other people say or do. You know, you've already been settled in grace.
That's beautiful. I hope you're learning so far. As this path of grace grows brighter every day, is it something we notice as it grows brighter? Is it something that gets us along the way, or realize, oh wow, okay, I didn't even know how I got here? But
it could be both ways. There is tangible results, from a peaceful mind. You will see, you'll be able to achieve things, because we say success sometimes is not deja vu, but then being able to manage your time, you're focused, like you realize, oh my gosh, I've achieved so many things. Then people will start seeing you credible. They can say, I can trust this person. I've seen their work, compared to every other person. Like I've seen they're doing a good job. You have more clients because you're focused, you're peaceful, your response is like you become such a worthy person in the society emotionally. What happens also, grace gives you emotional intelligence, which is very important these days.
Oh my God, we cannot even emphasize much on this.
It works on your IQ as well, because when you're focused, you learn as well. You learn the things you need to do. You're able to improve. You're able to even also, grace helps you to judge others, meaning it's empowers you to be very open
Yes.
to people. You can work with anyone.
Yeah.
This one.
Me, I can't work with. Oh, me, I don't work with such
No,
people.
you can't if you want to
Yeah.
work. You have to be able to work with others, but you know, grace empowers you to be subtle and not to be moved by people. You know, the reason why people don't want to work with other people because they fear they'll be influenced negatively, because like you're afraid you can't be able to control how you feel, so you better stay away. But then when you're leaning on grace, God gives you even the emotional strength to be able to just focus on what you're doing and not judge, like whatever you choose to do, even if I will influence you or not, that doesn't, we need to focus on what has brought us here. So these are the things that actually empower you to grow. And people, even if they get influenced, it's not that you forced them or anything. They've seen the results, they feel like this is what I want. You know,
Wow. And that's really powerful as well. I mean, the path of grace, I'm telling you, there's so much to really write down on this. But even as the challenges keep coming, how do we even focus ahead and continue on the journey? Many of us give up along the way. You began something, you already left it, you know, or you're that person who you never finish whatever you start. You start something, imenibo. Unaanza kitu ingine, or you move from one employment to the other. You know, if it's churches, you're saying, I move from one church to the other.
So
you know, I had someone call them spiritual tourists. You know, you're just hopping from one place to the other. The people who are that way because it gets so tough. And when we began this conversation, we said, the path will never be smooth. But we have to keep progressing on. But how do we keep ourselves on that journey as well of always leaning on grace, of always resting our minds and ensuring that, by the way, niko kwa hii neema ya God.
So what happens when it comes to doing something? It needs a lot of perseverance. And somebody says retaining ability. You know, being able to retain, being able to stick at it. You know, sticking at it, sometimes you need to have, that's why we said a peaceful mind. You know, because the reason why you keep on hopping, I'm not saying that you shouldn't move from one place, but then you're moving from what, you know, are you really like peaceful? Are you conscious? Are you sober? Are you sober at that time? So what happens is that you need to have like a peaceful mind that empowers you to actually stick at it. When your mind is peaceful, you don't get distracted. You're like, you're still on track. So
even what comes your way,
we are still successful. Just because I've lost one client, just because that doesn't necessarily mean that this is not the path that I want for myself. Yes, I will, as I'm joining, I'll still have more streams of income. I'll start a different business, but that doesn't mean this is a bad business. We're still moving. So that it's called retaining power. Actually comes from a restful mind. Having a restful mind will actually help you achieve everything you've ever wanted. To be at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing at the right time. Even if it's the businesses, even if there are 50 businesses, a peaceful mind is able to run an international business. Is able to run a career and a successful career. But now a mind that is distracted, stressed,
all over, kupambana, kukazana, kungengana. That would be your result, by the way.
So basically a restful mind, you know, will just cause your path to go brighter and brighter.
And you continue to progress ahead. But there's sometimes you don't realize, you know, if right now we're almost coming to the end of the year, if you look back and see the things you've been able to do with God, you know, as we said in this episode and many others to come, that grace keeps working and God is working in you, through you and for you, you'll realize that with God by your side, you've been able to achieve so much. So suddenly you're beating yourself up because you're thinking, oh, I've not achieved this, I didn't do this, I was meant to do this. But just pause for a moment and look at the things God has been able to do for you, and you see that grace has kept you going. Even though, you know, there are those moments, Joe, you wake up and you don't know how you actually did it. Like, nimewezaje kwenda hii mwezi yote? Like, how was I able to then survive each and every day with the different obstacles that are coming? But that's how you realize that in this path of grace, you just allow it to take you through. Whether you find stones, rocks, whatever it is along the way, you keep journeying on and you keep going. And that's our encouragement for you today. Joy, before we even actually close on this, has this been the best decision you ever made in your life? To just choose grace?
Oh my God.
What has it done for you?
Gosh, grace grace is the best thing that ever happened to my life. I feel like there's so many things I just saw as a vision.
Yeah.
But the fact that I was able like to choose grace that calmed my mind, I was able to just focus. You know, it's not that everything just happened like magic, but you know, not being able to, not just having a peaceful mind, overcoming depression, anxiety, and we'll talk about, you know, how to overcome how mental health comes about with just having a grace mind. You know, how you can overcome all those things that are making you not be who you are meant to be. Grace is the best thing. Hey,
you choose it over and over and over again.
That's why I keep on saying, in case something gets hard, wow, what am I? You know, I have to go back to grace again and lean on it until every other thing that God has promised me come to pass. You know, grace all the way.
It's always a daily decision where you just say, you know what? Yeah, I know there's this, but I choose grace.
I choose grace.
Above everything. And I pray that that can be your desire as well today.
Yeah.
Maybe you've never fully embraced it. And as we are always saying, grace, it's an it's undeserved. Yani you are given freely. You don't have to really work for it and toil. You know, it was already done. At the cross, it was finished. So all you have to do is just embrace it as a child of God today. And you'll be able to progress on with this path of grace. As we have said, it keeps growing brighter. Every day. And that is what we are leaving with you on this episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been really amazing, Joy. Anytime we're talking about grace, you also glow brighter.
I know, there's so much energy. Oh my God.
Thank you so much. Let's meet in the next episode. Continue liking, subscribing, share, and comment. We love to see it all. We love your feedback and we appreciate you. And if you have any suggestion towards anything you want for us to discuss on, please feel free to slide in kwa DM. You want to ask more about Grace Forum, Business Forum, Men's Forum, all that, or even therapy sessions, please go ahead. Don't feel left out. Until next episode.
Bye.